Good afternoon. Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Taylorson. I'm the director and co-founder of Optimum ROI. Welcome to the first of a series of webinars, which we'll be posting on our YouTube channel, live from Google in London. Apologies today with the live streaming, that we had a few issues with that. In the future, the event will be live streamed. And for the follow-up Q&A for today's event, we will be doing an event to be confirmed, but sometime next week as a follow-up Q&A for anyone who has some questions from this. So today's webinar is called Boosting Traffic and Building Trust for Travel Consumers. We're very, very happy and very honored that our first guest of this webinar series is Trustpilot. And of course, we have Google here speaking with us. So just going through the agenda. Our speakers today are myself, and then the team lead for UK and APAC for Trustpilot, which is Jordan Pellant, and then Krisanti Salaki, who is the Senior Strategic Partner Manager for Google. Today's agenda, we'll just do some brief introductions to our companies, and then we'll talk about accelerating traffic across lots of different channels, and then how we can do some optimization techniques for accelerating sales. And then the Q&A will follow next week, as I said. So Optimum ROI, our company, is an AI-powered sales acceleration software. It's actually the world's only travel-focused paid search automation platform, which helps your business achieve its goals with low costs and minimal management. The core focus of the software is to identify signals that indicate purchase intent, and then using our machine learning algorithm to predict when traffic that matches that pattern will recur, and then to acquire the appropriate media for the optimum price. And now over to Jordan to introduce Trustpilot.
Thank you. So Trustpilot is the world's most powerful review platform. And really, we're built on a staple of openness and collaboration. So our platform is open to all consumers and all companies and independent of both. Now, we're in a unique position, especially within the UK and Europe, having so much consumer data and insight into reviews and trends, and working alongside our partners have come up with some really high-level, quite interesting stats and trends within the travel industry. Before I got these stats back and read through them myself, my anticipation was that people often impulse purchase within travel. But actually what we've seen from these stats is people are spending a lot of time researching, comparing flights, and searching for the best hotels. So typically we're looking at around 20 days as an average time that people are spending looking at flights, and more than 11 searches over a month typically when looking for a hotel. So consumers are becoming more, they're driving more insight and driving through more search to try and find the right deals and the right places to go on holiday. Now, even more than that, actually, this is something that I resonate quite well with. I think more than 3/4 of the people we got responses from mentioned that they thought that their highest expense each year was through holidays and travel. But actually, if you think about the next stat in line with that, nearly 50% of people feel there's a very real risk of travel scams. So it's a high spend, but people are still really concerned about it, and they're trying to find a way of identifying good deals, bad deals, and if people are scams. And I guess that kind of goes back to my last slide around the amount of time people are using to search and find these places. Now, kind of coming back onto the Trustpilot topic, nearly 70% of consumers will choose a holiday provider with better reviews over a cheaper one with poorer reviews. So people are looking for indicators of trust at every single stage of that search journey. And again, I'm going to jump back into how Trustpilot are helping businesses do that in just a moment. But I'm going to hand you over to the Google side of things to give you some more deep insight on travel.
Hello. So everyone knows this. It's a picture from the 90s. And that's where we are now, from a computer at the corner of our house to a supercomputer in our pockets. It gives us all this power. Consumers now have all the power they need to find the information they need anytime, wherever they are. So if we look back, that happened back like 11 years ago. The first smartphone appeared 11 years ago. And since that, we've seen a massive revolution in consumer behavior. Just to give you a little bit of perspective, in 2018, we had 8 billion connected devices. That's more than people. And by 2020, we expect this number to go up to 20 billion. It's really impressive how many devices consumers have connected at all times. Now, how is this connecting with you and with Google, right? So at Google, we always have this motto: focus on the user and all else will follow. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because it's very clear from both Trustpilot and Optimum ROI that the focus is on the consumer. So we want to see all these behavioral change that technology has brought and how we can support you to deal with this change and how you can make sure you're ready to bring the right business for you. So I'm happy to share the first findings that we've had after all this monitoring of consumer behavior. And here's the first ones. Consumers have become more curious. We have seen that 15% of all searches happening on Google every year are new and have never been searched before. This is impressive. It's 15% of all searches. A good example in the travel industry is that in the last year, searches for the best luggage was up by 137%, and travel accessories increased by 215%. We just have the power to look for more information and look for the quality of what we're going to buy or the services that we're going to register for. So consumers are more curious, that's for sure. Let's see what comes next. Consumers are also more demanding. So what we have seen is that because we have this power in our fingertips, we just request more from businesses like yours. We've seen that in the travel industry specifically, 60% of UK travelers would rather see a few travel options, a more customized experience if you want, which reflect their travel habits and preferences, rather than searching through many options. What we have seen is that they like businesses anticipating their needs and providing them, helping them in this decision process. Let's see what's come next. So, like me right now, consumers are more impatient. So no surprise there. Everything is so much faster. We're used to fast loading pages. We're used to next day shipping, all this digital era that has significantly increased the expectations that consumers have from businesses. So we are more curious, we're more demanding, and we are more impatient. And here are some stats. 76% of travelers abandoned a booking when the checkout time was longer than a minute. I know that sounds really difficult to achieve, right? Like a minute is nothing really. But when you think about your current online presence, don't think of just your peers and the smaller, if you want, competitor, but think of the big businesses that are online and the businesses that have sort of spoiled us consumers to have these expectations. Think of, Amazon. You can get next day delivery. So the pages, when you go on Google search, your results load in less than a second, so in less than a minute. So obviously you expect this to happen very quickly. So just to sum it up and give you that is supposed to give you a good idea of how we observe how we've seen the consumer, the modern consumer, reacting to this smartphone change and all this mobile age of assistance, where they don't come to you only for information, but they come to you for real assistance throughout their purchase path. And in travel, we have seen that the sales cycle is much longer than in other industries. So make sure you're always there. You have your presence up to date, all your information. Your reviews are on point, as we saw earlier. It's a traveler is more tends to pick something that has better reviews rather than the cheaper one or the one that even looks nicer, because we just trust each other. So here it is to sum up: the newly empowered consumer is curious, demanding, and impatient. I know that might sound daunting, like a difficult job to achieve, to satisfy this new empowered consumer. But good news is that you're in the right place. You have Optimum ROI and Trustpilot here. So let's move on.
Yes. So thank you very much for that, Chris. So the really interesting thing that sort of Google has obviously been looking at is this idea of focusing on the user. And so when we made Optimum ROI, we really had that in mind, and looking at the data signals that are available beyond just standard conversion data, and that picture can really be painted by following how a user engages with your online presence. So when we start looking at what's the best way to boost traffic, it's really good to start by trying to understand how that traffic works. And certainly for travel, there's a lot of issues that can come up, and it's a very unique way. The first issue is that obviously with a longer buy cycle, as Jordan alluded to earlier, with that sort of 26 days, this is going to be done across multiple different channels. It's going to be done on different devices, and you're going to be seeing people using different browsers, not to mention they might be clearing cookies. So during that, you have a big problem of attribution. This is obviously it's a common sort of problem to the digital marketer, but it is something that can there's a lot of lost data where your sales are actually coming from on just conversions, and that can really be a problem for kind of your ROI calculations. So with that in mind, we advocate for a multi-channel holistic approach, which is sort of saying that if you can get good users, good customers with high purchase intent to your website, your multiple channels, all your channels will see the benefits. Your search affects your social, and your social will affect your search. And then within your search, good pay-per-click advertising will grow your organic, your direct, and even your referral revenues, because you'll see highly engaged users continually arriving at your funnel and continually interacting with your website. And next up, we have just a crucial concern as well, is looking at where in the travel buy cycle you have. So pre-purchase, the travel's buy cycle, there's three sort of distinct phases. One is sort of the dreaming of the holiday, the next is planning, and then the final one is booking. And when you're kind of looking at the where you're spending your kind of where you're looking to spend which marketing platforms you're looking to spend, you have to consider this deeply, and what kind of traffic you're looking to get. So at the dreaming phase, a lot of this is often done by sort of the tourism boards of countries, because it is about they're not looking for ROI, they're not looking to connect it to anything, they're just sort of trying to drive that dreaming. And then the planning phase, social and display has a big part of that, because there's retargeting and it's trying to get you when you cross between dreaming and planning. But certainly when you move towards booking, this is where search really comes to the fore, because this is where the highest purchase intent can be evident, and that's where sort of the search networks really go forward. So knowing where your customer is in the buy cycle is very important. Next up, we also have sort of the travel client types. So sort of at the, I've bracketed this just into kind of, 4 separate ones, sort of luxury, corporate, family, and budget. But where they are, there is definitely a correlation along those lines between the amount of research they'll do, the cost of the service, and the number of vendors they'd like to book for the entirety of the holiday. So at the luxury end, where you see they'll do a lower research period, they will pay a premium, and they'd like to be trusting just one individual vendor to provide it all. And then obviously corporate travel, there's less research period because it's to do with basically when the business needs to be done. They'll pay full price, but they are price sensitive, and they tend to have 2 or 3 exclusive vendors. And in that sense, obviously display and social gets more. There's a bit of a driver there. But then when you get down to kind of the bulk of the travel market, which is sort of the family and the budget traveler, who do more extensive research and also will very happily use multiple vendors if it means that they get a better price. Of course, there's a bigger, as Chris said, there's a lot more than just price. There's about trust, and there's a multitude of these different other elements that come into it. But certainly, this is where search, the real patterns can start developing in purchase intent. So across those conundrums, our approach is very much with the idea of a user behavior-driven multi-channel advertising strategy. This is really important because user behavior data, it happens every time, or you get that data every time a visitor lands on your site, not just when you get a conversion. So there's a more frequent data set, and you're looking to paint an aggregate picture of how people are interacting with your website. And this plugs the gap for that misattribution that you get, and also sort of can really kind of help you identify that multi-channel growth once you see highly engaged users who do show that they are interested in buying your service by the way that they operate on your website. You can really focus on using your advertising spend to drive ROI across the board. And so our motto is to focus on driving high quality users to your website, and all your channels will go up. So, and here's just an example in the past where we've used this. Is actually a client of both ours and Trustpilot's, using a strategy focusing on the user. This company was able to see a huge increase in leads, a great increase in lead conversion rate, all for a big decrease in cost. But it's all about, sort of working a holistic strategy based on your strengths. This particular client, they take all their bookings on the phone, and because they use that strength, they use phone quality as a USP and to drive recurring customers. And so that's on our side about understanding traffic. Jordan's now going to take you forward in terms of how, once you've got that concept, what you can do to move forward.
Yeah, I think that those last sets of slides were really interesting insight into kind of where people within travel are spending their time. I think once they get down to that planning stage or the booking stage, what we want to talk about here is about how reviews can impact both paid and organic search and help you drive more of those buying leads straight through to your site. So the first thing that I think is worth talking about is the impact that we have on both paid and organic search at a high level. So Google Seller Ratings is a really nice way of kind of cutting yourself out from some of the competitors in your space by talking more to your reputation or your customer excellence rather than your price. So what we're seeing typically is a 10% increase in paid click-through rate just by utilizing that paid star rating. And actually, just to attain that, you need to get 100 reviews over 3.5 stars. So what we give you is an automated system for collecting reviews from every one of your buyers to give you the highest potential to keep these Google Seller Ratings consistent and to get the best content for you guys as a business. Now, when you scale down to organic search, from my perspective, I always want to be showcasing a business's reputation at every level of search. So whether it's paid, whether it's organic, we have a system of pre-marked up integrations that allow you to take your Trustpilot reputation and mark it up against key landing pages or product pages. So actually on the organic side, the impact is even higher. So we can see up to 45% in organic click-through rate increase. And again, just by using your reputation at that first point of contact with a potential user, especially coming through from that planning phase to the booking phase, is a great way to drive additional click-through and interest in the business. A couple of examples of people that have done this really successfully. Cycle Partner utilizing Google Seller Ratings. Not only did they drive up their level of interest and click-through rate on their paid ads, but they saw a higher level of conversion when people got there. And I guess that's because you're embedding trust at every level and at the very beginning of that purchase cycle. Again, on organic, we've seen a huge return rate for most of our businesses, and it's a really quick win for a lot of our local businesses. And I guess from an organic perspective, these guys, again, have seen a huge increase in click-through rate with rich snippets. And again, you following through that journey, being able to showcase that reputation and the content on those landing pages has driven through conversion for those businesses as well. And one last one, again, using rich snippets, another huge conversion increase through rich snippets. And again, continuing down the funnel, continually and I'm going to go back to this in just a second around integrations on site, but constantly reinforcing your trust and your customer excellence is a great way to take people from being interested in planning down to a booker. Now, people don't just find you through search anymore. Although the first place most people will go is search, social media has become a big player, especially in that kind of dreaming, planning stage. So we want to also give you the ability to take your reputation to social as well. So we see a series of integrations, things like the image generator that allows you to create a nice on-brand image with Trustpilot's reputation marks on it, as well as our integration with Facebook. Now, what we saw last year in a consumer survey is not only do 87% of UK consumers trust an advert or a business when they see Trustpilot attached to it, but actually 80% of consumers, especially within the travel market, said that when they were looking on a business's Facebook page, if they saw positive reputation marks, reviews, 5-star scores, 4-star scores, they built more confidence in going through to buying on that site. So simply by using your Trustpilot reputation across all areas, whether it's search or social, allows you to drive that level of interest and trust throughout the whole process, regardless if they find you during booking, planning, or dreaming stage. A couple more examples of people who have used this really successfully. Again, utilizing some of their best customer content, great reviews, great feedback, appending our star rating and our logo, and giving additional confidence to their paid ads on social. The image generator, as I alluded to earlier, is a really nice way of taking some personally branded imagery, could be a holiday home, could be a particular destination, a great review and our branding, and build really, really quick and simple integrations and images to share out to your social networks. These could be used on paid ads or could just be utilized to generate different types of content through things like Instagram. Some of the great kind of results we've seen from this is higher levels of engagement. So more content sharing, more likes, more comments on brands that are using Trustpilot as part of that generation of content. And I guess it goes back to, Trustpilot being, I think it's the 52nd most visited website here in the UK right now. So people just know us and get the understanding that there's a brand within travel that is being open and transparent with their customers and is showcasing that feedback as part of their strategy. Again, some more examples here for you to read through. The impact is massive all the way through from kind of social proofing all the way through to conversion. And again, we attribute this down to talking about their reputation at every single point of contact, whether it be through search and PPC, whether it be through organic or through social. Now, one of the things that we don't often talk about when we come down to Trustpilot is accelerating traffic offline. I'm sure most of you that are watching this recording, you'll go home tonight, or you may have already seen it, 3 or 4 adverts an evening on TV with Trustpilot appended to it. The reason goes back to that 87% of consumers who trust brands more with Trustpilot appended to it. So, giving you guys the ability to take our branding, run it against your offline ads, to add social proofing to it and build confidence. I think you made a really good point about, if you're building up your PPC, it also helps your social and also helps your organic. I think one of the things that we're starting to see is that those businesses that are harnessing tools like Optimum ROI, using Google effectively, are then finding budget for physical advertisement. Mm-hmm. And then they're utilizing our branding to build that up, which then in turn increases their digital presence. So it's quite a nice kind of 360 holistic view. And again, using that branding to assist with your brand to build confidence. Some examples there. I'm sure you've seen a few on the tube. There's obviously quite a few on television now. And it's surprising the amount of buses that I see going past with Trustpilot on. It's a great thing to see. And it's great to see UK businesses especially harnessing this and beginning to use it more on a global basis as well. I think it's all well and good talking about how we get customers to your site in terms of lead generation, in terms of PPC optimization. But what do we do when they actually get there, and how can we utilize that increased traffic to its best potential? Well, one of the great things with Trustpilot is we can integrate with pretty much any web experience and give you a multitude of different ways of showcasing your reputation at every stage. So, whether it's some of the stats here you can see are just massive. Being able to use Trustpilot's widgets or showcasing those stories that give you that star rating can increase conversions up to 130%. And again, we're talking about the wider kind of impact. Sales, we've seen sales increase up to 315%. These are massive numbers, but it's quite clear to see why, right? If you can talk about your reputation from the very point they land on your site, whether it be on the homepage, see a number of different ways of demonstrating just the star rating or the actual comment that sits behind that. Again, utilization of different types of widgets give the different businesses the way to kind of showcase the way they want to. We also give you kind of an A/B testing tool to see which one is having the widest impact on your business. On product pages, we see quite a high level of conversion increase by just giving those people. I mean, we spoke about it earlier. People are looking for trust indicators when they're looking for hotels, for flights. We want to give you a really quick way of integrating these up on those landing pages to build confidence from day one. Again, another nice example of one that's got a pop-up widget here. Now, it's interesting when we get down to the checkout phase. So everything we've spoken about so far is around driving conversion through those key stages, whether it be product pages or service pages. But actually, when we start to showcase reputation on checkout, we typically see up to a 10% reduction in cart abandonment. And again, it's those people who are kind of umming and ahhing at that last final step that we want to build the most confidence with. So we give you the ability to set up service content specifically that talks about your post-sales content, so your customer service, how well the booking process went, and you can begin to showcase that content on site to drive up or drive down the basket abandonment. Again, another really nice example of someone who's using this really well. We've also seen that by using Trustpilot's trust indicators on things like contact us pages, not only are we seeing a reduction in some people contacting out, they might find the answer within the comments or the reviews, but also seeing a higher level of engagement with those customer support reps. And quite nicely within this loop, you can actually send out an invite post customer service contact to get feedback on your customer service. So it's not just about the booking process, it's all about getting a full image of your business service and demonstrating that to potential new customers. Again, another nice kind of comment here, effectively kind of talking about what we've spoken about so far. So effectively building third-party validation. Gone are the days where you could write 5 nice reviews and put them on your site and have that make the impact that you want. It now has to be third-party and independent. And Trustpilot is the name for independent third-party reviews. And one of the great things that these guys are seeing at Trailfinders is it's just giving them insight and giving them a customer voice that can really help them make business change.
So that was some really fantastic insights. So thank you definitely to Google and Trustpilot. Unfortunately, as we had the issue with the live stream, there will be no Q&A today, but we do promise that next week, at a date to be confirmed, we will be answering your questions. So please do send them in, and we'll be updating you as soon as possible when we will have that Q&A session. But yeah, thank you very much, Trustpilot and Google, and we'll update you soon.
Thank you.